What's up, guys? We're going to start a pacifist run of Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. For those of you who don't know, a pacifist run is where you go through the game killing the absolute fewest amount of enemies as possible, which in Super Mario Bros. 3 case means we won't be going through a lot of the worlds. Our first objective is going to be to collect the first 2 whistles in the game that are located here in World 1. From there, we're going to use both of those to warp us straight to World 8, and then we're going to defeat Bowser. We aren't forced to kill too many enemies. I know we'll have to take out a Boomerang Brother, and we'll have to fight Boom Boom a few times, and then Bowser himself, of course, but that's about it, really. We won't really have a chance to collect many items. We'll have a Mushroom House here in World 1 that we can get, and we may as well go and play that Spade panel as well, just because it'll be the only one that we can play. But, yeah, other than that, the only other places that we can get any power-ups would be the hand stages, the stages in the second part of World 8 that just kind of grab you and pull you into the level. We can get a few super leaves there if we're forced to do those levels, but other than that, we won't be having any power-ups to use on the overworld. Whatever the case, though, we just now completed World 1-2. We gotta go to World 1-3, that's where our first whistle will be located. At the very end of the stage, where I'm sure a lot of you already know where it's located, but for those of you who don't know where it's located, you'll see it whenever we get to the end of the level, of course. Raccoon Mario is always a really good Mario power-up to have in a pacifist run because it helps you float over all the enemies. So yeah, what you want to do in order to get the first whistle in the game is get on this white block here, duck until you go through it, you'll be in the background, just avoid the enemies and run behind where the end is at of the stage. From there, you'll be taken to this little hidden mushroom house of sorts with Toad, and he'll give you a whistle. From here, our next whistle will be in the World 1 fort. But before we go to that fort, let's go ahead and visit this mushroom house. We're going to get the far right chest, and I'm going to guess it's going to be a fire flower. Good guess. Although, honestly, I would have rather had a super leaf, but whatever. Fire flowers are still okay. We can take another hit if we need to. Although the fireballs really aren't all that great here in a pacifist run, considering we can't use them to kill anything. Alright, cool, we got us a mushroom. We probably won't need the 2-up, but still kind of cool that we managed to make a picture for that, considering that's going to be the only spade that we'll get to play in this run. Alright, here we are in the World 1 fort. Go ahead and grab this. It doesn't matter if you shoot those Poodaboos, or whatever they're called, the fireballs, with your Mario fireballs, considering you can't kill them. I'm not too worried that we just got hit because we get another leaf right here. Scroll that dry bones off the screen, then after you do, build up your speed and fly up and above this area right here. Go all the way to the right and you'll find a door. Enter that door and you'll find your second whistle. And just like that, we are now done here in World 1. Time to warp to World 8. I always liked how Super Mario Bros. 3 references the original Legend of Zelda, not with just the tornado taking you across the land, but also with the song that you play with the whistle itself. I always like it whenever you see little Easter eggs like that in video games. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, here we are on World 8, Dark Land, which ain't so dark just yet thanks to all the fire everywhere. These tank stages can be a little tricky since you have so many cannonballs everywhere. Just do your best to avoid them. I'd recommend waiting for the screen to scroll forward a little bit, that way you have plenty of room to dodge what's coming up next, and wait for your opportunity to jump between cannonballs and bob-ombs and all that kind of stuff. And make your move, and just be careful not to land on anything. You'll find at least one power-up in this level, so if you get hit, don't worry too much about it. I find it kind of funny that some of these tanks have propellers on them. I guess if they're like prototype flying tanks or something that don't fly. They'll perfect that model someday, though. Someday. The tanks that have the turrets that are like down at the very bottom, like touching the ground, look kind of cool, I guess. Kind of weird looking, but also kind of cool at the same time. Here's the power-up I was talking about. I think it's kind of funny how the question mark really rapidly spins around the box whenever you see it before you hit it. I remember whenever I was younger, my parents always thought the Rocky wrenches were throwing scissors that were trying to cut Mario instead of throwing wrenches. We didn't know that they were throwing wrenches until we looked at the Super Mario Bros. 3 manual, of course. I think it'd be kind of interesting to see these little military-type stages turned into a stage in one of the Super Smash Bros. Games, as like a little scrolling stage of sorts. I don't think it'll ever happen, of course, and it might pose too many stage hazards. I think it'd be better if they had like the tanks and ships and jets like in the background. You just kind of hop from one to another, because you don't want to have too many stage hazards. But, whatever. I think it's kind of funny that Bowser left a lone Boomerang brother in charge of this military fleet. And just like that, we now have a Starman, which we can't really make much use of because we're not allowed to kill anything. Alright, time for the battleship stage. Even though it looks like we're floating in lava, it's actually just more like brown water, basically. You can actually jump into it and swim in it if you want. You can actually swim underneath all these ships and avoid everything if you want to. But I'm not going to do that just because it wouldn't be as fun to watch. I think this might be the shortest of all the military stages. If it isn't the shortest, then it's definitely the easiest in my opinion. I think that the jet military stage might be the shortest one though because the jets move so fast. Kinda like how whenever you jump on the great big cannonballs and they land in the lava down below, it makes a splash. Kind of a cool little effect that they made there, a cool little visual effect. One thing that's different on this military stage as opposed to the others here in World 8 is that if you kill one of the rocky wrenches, they actually come back as opposed to staying dead like they would on the tank stage or the jet stage. Just kind of interesting, I suppose. I'm pretty sure that they do that on airships too. As a matter of fact, I know that they come back on airships. We are just about to the end of the battleship military stage. Let's float over here. There we go. We'll have another big cannon coming right up, and right after that we'll be fighting Boom Boom, and then we can move deeper into World 8. It always kind of confused me why there's a suicidal Bob-omb here at the very end of the battleship. He even kills one of his buddies with him. Kind of weird. Maybe it's just a missed sight and enemy placement or something? I don't know. It just seems weird to have a Bob-omb blow up immediately upon coming onto the screen or something. Just really, really strange. A kamikaze Bob-omb. Alright, time to move deeper into World 8. The next area looks kind of cool with all the skulls everywhere. Here are these weird trap-type areas. In this one, I'd recommend building up your speed and trying to fly over as much of it as you can, because you don't want one of the jumping cheap-cheeps to jump right into your feet and kill itself. So yeah, try to fly and float through as much of this stage as you can to avoid the cheap-cheeps. In each of these little portal-type stages, you get a super leaf for completing it. Even though you see 5 portal stages on the overworld, you can only actually do 3 of them. So keep that in mind. And just like that, it is now time for the jet military stage. I remember as a kid, this was always the most difficult of all the military stages here in Super Mario Bros. 3. Having Raccoon or Tanuki Mario really helps with this type of stage though, and of course having a P-Wing is even better since you can just fly right over it, of course. It took me a little while to get through this stage, but by the time I was in 2nd grade, probably by the time I was 7 or 8, I could do this stage pretty well. I like this particular jet in this stage, the one that just has a box and has to have 2 flamethrowers to power it. Kinda cracks me up how some of the jets have the flamethrowers on them, but the flamethrowers don't work, so it makes you wonder how they're even flying in the first place. Whatever though, in Videoland anything can happen. We aren't too far from the end of the stage, so yeah, I think I'd say that the jet military stage is definitely the shortest. Alright, time for another battle against Boom Boom, and then we can move a little deeper into the Dark World. Or Dark Land, actually. The next area of Darkland is actually the only part of Darkland that's dark at all, which is kind of funny. Alright, time to go through this pipe and make our way to Area 3 of Darkland, where we will have our regular stages here in this world. Alright? What I'd recommend doing in this stage is just build up some speed here at the start and get ready to fly to a pipe that's up in the sky. You'll see whenever we get there. Just keep on flying up and to the right, and then once you get to this pipe, go into it. In this area, you can get 3 1-ups. We don't really need them, but hey, may as well get them, I suppose. I always enjoy sliding down these 2 long slopes. What you'll want to do before you leave here is build up your power again, then jump, and then as soon as you get out of the pipe, fly up and to the right again. Just keep on flying. Once your power runs out, continue to float down to the right. This should take you right to the end of the stage. So yeah, doing that makes this stage a cakewalk, really. The next stage here in Dark World is, or Darkland, I keep calling it Dark World, dang it Zelda. The next stage here in Darkland is actually even easier than this one in my opinion. Alright, time for stage 2. First thing you'll want to do in this stage is go down this little quicksand fall here. You can go into a pipe to the right to get some coins, or you can go into the pipe to the left to get a power up. I usually take the pipe to the right, so instead we'll take the pipe to the left this time. We can get a super leaf here, but we don't really need it, of course, so we'd just be getting points. May as well grab it, I suppose. And there we go. course, you want to leave out this area. Normally you'd have the angry sun chasing you around, but if you take the area that I just did and you come out where I'm at right now, the angry sun won't be here. So just run down the big slope and fly over this pit and then get your card. Like I said, really easy. We now have only 3 more stages left to complete here in World 8. We have a fort to destroy, we have a tank military stage, and then we have Bowser's Fortress itself. So yeah, not too much more to go. This fort here always took me a long time to complete as a kid. It's because it's a great big maze. There's so many doors everywhere for you to take. So yeah, that's why it took me a long time as a kid. Of course I know the path now, but this was a really difficult fortress for me whenever I was a kid, of course. But just to be expected, you know, since it's the very final one of the game. What you'll want to do over here is break all these bricks and then hit that question block. It has a Starman in it. I'd recommend letting the Starman bounce forward a little bit and then follow it and then grab it. That way you can extend the amount of time that you're invincible. Obviously, if you're doing a pacifist run, avoid touching the Boo and the Thwomp over here while you're invincible because you don't want to kill them. Alright, make your way over here to the left, hit this P-switch, then go over to the far right wall and enter the door, and we are now at Boom Boom. All we had to do now is just wait for the P-switch to wear off. It's kind of strange that the P-switches affect conveyor belts, but not a big deal, I suppose. The conveyor belt is no threat at all while you're fighting Boom Boom. Just fight him like you usually do. Just hop on him, wait for him to get done flailing around, then jump again before he can begin to do anything. Kind of neat that the conveyor belt actually moves the question mark orb. Not really that special or anything, but kind of neat that they actually programmed it in to do that. Alright, we are now through the dark section of Darkland. Time to take out the military tank stage, the second one. Here we go. As far as a pacifist run is concerned, I think that this stage is probably the trickiest one to do here in Super Mario Bros. 3. Not just because you have the cannons that endlessly shoot cannonballs and everything, but also because you have them hanging from the ceiling part of the tank as well. So you not only got enemy fire from the bottom of the ship, but also from the top. It's all over the place. So you gotta really pay attention whenever you're trying to avoid everything. Whenever you see the rocky wrenches, so long as you're safe from the cannonballs, all you have to do is duck and they won't be able to hit you. So it's really easy to get by them. Just avoid hitting them with your tail and jumping on them, of course. We're not too much further from the end of the stage. I'd say we're about 70% of the way through whenever you get to this big empty space here. Alright, just keep on making our way through the rest of this tank, and then next up will be at Bowser's Castle. We got a few power-ups, we may as well waste them before we enter Bowser's Castle here in a moment. Even the Starman can kind of help us in that level, I suppose. Because at the very beginning of the stage there are some statues that shoot laser beams. You can just run right through the laser beams. I suppose you can do that anyway, but at least the Starman will ensure that we don't get hit. Alright, our final battle against Boom Boom right here. Just as easy as ever. Alright, there we go. Bowser's Castle looks kinda strange in this game, in my opinion, on the overworld. It doesn't look bad, it just looks kinda strange. It looks like a face to me. I don't know what to think of it. Alright, time to take on the final level here in Super Mario Bros. 3. This is another stage that's kind of a maze, actually. There are a couple of different paths you can take to get to Bowser. I'm going to take the one that I find to be the easiest, though. Just fly at this area right here, avoid the roto discs. There's actually a little trick that you can do to avoid having to go back down through that area. Hit this invisible block, then jump on top of it and stand up. It'll glitch you through the wall. The path that I think's the easiest to take is the one that is in the very upper right over here. Just let that donut lift fall down a little bit so you got plenty of room to jump. Only the first Bowser statue in this area will shoot a laser at you. We are actually on the final stretch of Bowser's Castle right now. Just avoid the fireballs throughout this area. Just float right over them. Makes things pretty easy. Just like that, we are now at Bowser. One thing that's kind of weird about Bowser here in Super Mario Bros. 3 is that the lower half of his body actually doesn't hurt you. So if you're either small Mario or if you're ducking as Big Mario, he can never do any damage to you. It's kind of weird. The way to defeat Bowser in this game is, well, if you're Fire Mario or you're Hammer Mario, you can just keep chucking your projectiles at him to kill him. But otherwise, the normal way is to lure him into destroying all the bricks out from under him so that he falls into the endless pit below. Which actually isn't that hard to do. Just wait for him to jump again, then move under him. Then the next jump he does after this one should be the final one. I really like the music that's playing right now. Bowser has a really nice tune in this game. Whoa! Okay, I was expecting him to slam straight down. Usually he jumps up, stops, and then slams straight down. He didn't do anything that time. He just jumped clear across the room. Kind of caught me off guard there. Whatever the case though, Bowser is now down and out, and time to check out the ending to Super Mario Bros. 3. I find it kind of weird that Mario loses whatever power-up he had whenever he goes through the door. Or I guess gains a power-up if you're Small Mario whenever he goes through. Then again, I suppose it'd be kind of weird if you went through the door wearing a frog suit. I really like the remix of the Super Mario Bros. 1 Final Victory music. The one that plays whenever you rescue Peach in Super Mario Bros. 1. Nice little remix tune there. I also like the throwback to the original Mario with the whole "thank you but our princess is in another castle" thing. Kind of a cute little joke on Peach's part here, I think. I always like this game's ending, seeing all the different worlds and seeing just kind of like a picture of what Mario had to go through, and you kind of see a zoomed out view of the world map from where the fortress is at in that world. Kind of neat to look back at all the areas that you went through, or skipped in this run's case. One thing that's kind of interesting about Super Mario Bros. 3's ending is that some versions will say the names are Grassland, Desert Hill, Oceanside, Big Island, all that kind of stuff, and other versions say Grassland, Desertland, Waterland, etc., etc. Kind of interesting there. I'm not sure which way I like more. I suppose this particular version is a little more interesting than seeing just land, land, land. Kind of cool to see like actual full names for them instead of something land. Of all the worlds here in Super Mario Bros. 3, I think my favorite would probably be World 4, Giant Land, or Big Island, just because it's so much fun to take out all the really big enemies. It's not a hard world at all, it's just a really fun one in my opinion. Just so much fun to crush all those gigantic enemies, and I really love how whenever you break one of the gigantic bricks in Giant Land, it'll break into 4 normal-sized bricks. My least favorite world is probably Desert Land, just because it doesn't really add anything new from Grassland, it feels. But it's still not a bad world, and I really do like that one as well. Whatever the case though, this now concludes our pacifist run of Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. I hope you all enjoyed watching it and everything, and you all know the drill. Comment, subscribe, and all that. And well, thank you for watching.